Okay, round two. I had the simulation set last time for zero visibility. Didn't realize that I had the clouds going all the way to the ground. So really it was a 0-0 flight, which you wouldn't have done. I didn't realize in the settings that it was set for MSL for the cloud bases and tops, and I thought it was a AGL instead of mean sea level. So have that fixed. I now have it set for a 400.5 mile day. So 400-foot ceiling, half-mile visibility, statute, runway visibility. I have the tops of the clouds set for 2,800. We're going to go to 3,000, so we'll be able to break out and get on top. Once we descend back below 3,000, when we hit 2,800, we'll hit the clouds and rain, and we'll try it again, this time with truly a half-mile visibility, 400-foot ceiling, 2,800-foot tops, wind 320 at 10, gusting 15. So we're going to try this again. I'll go faster. I won't go through checklist and give you a little quicker flight. You're probably not going to be able to see this screen over here on the left because I'm trying to concentrate more on the instruments. This camera is only a 720p, so the resolution's not great. I wanted to get a little closer. You probably won't see the lower controls here too. So just want to give you an idea of what it looks like set up correctly. So let's give it a shot again. So we'll unpause the simulation. Engine's already running. You can see the raining on the windshield. And we're going to go ahead and go direct to KGWB, where we went before. And again, we're going to do the approach. We're going to do the RNAV 27 with Kujbi as our initial fix. We'll activate that. We're initially going to climb out to the west. And Kujbi is a 120, so I'll just dial that in for reference here. And again, this is an overlay. When they give you the simulator, this screen is actually displaying all this, and this overlay lays over, and it uses a USB connection to make this all work. So this is an acrylic overlay over the screen. It's pretty cool how it works. So let's try this again. Flaps are up, mixture full rich, prop in, gears down. All my switches are on the way they should be. I've already pre-flighted. We're ready to go. So we're going to take off runway 27. Coming around. I don't know if you can see the screen over here, but it has a nice 45 display on either side. It's nice for when you're breaking out, you can look to the side and see the ground. So I'm lined up with the runway. Get a little more on center here. Get my map set to 5 miles, and we're ready to go. Full power coming in. A little bit of right crosswind, so I'll put in a little aileron. Airspeed's alive. Here's 60. There we go. Positive rate. There's 80 knots. Gear up. Continue to climb at 80 for a moment. Well established in the climb, so I'm going to lower the nose down to 90. Heading west. And there's 100 knots. That's a nice climb in this place, or 95 knots is a nice climb right there. So we're in the cloud. We're getting pretty much in the clouds. You can barely see down here some trees. So we'll set our altitude to 3,000. And we can start turning that way. We're going to head south for a little bit to intercept our initial approach course. I'm going to do a standard rate turn. And again, I'm leaving full power in the whole time for the climb.
Altitude.
So 1,000 foot to our altitude. A little bit of left rudder there. Little gusty up here, not too bad. Okay, I'll go ahead and go direct to Coogee. And looks like about a 114 heading. It's overshot it a little. There we are. Still climbing full power. To the right, maybe about a 125. There's 2,800 feet. I'll reduce power. We're in no hurry here. There we are. Put the correction on it. We're going to reset it one more time here. There's 3,000 foot. Nav, altitude hold. Reduce the power to 21 inches. Yeah, let's go a little faster. We'll go 23 inches and we'll lean it out here. There's peak. That's about 100 Rich a peak right there, which is the absolute worst place you can run your engine. If you haven't taken the APS course, I recommend it. I'm just trying to go fast. So, we'll talk a little bit about that. This the engine in my turbo 182 is a 0540, 235 horsepower. That engine is actually used in some applications up to 350 horsepower, and it's carbureted in the Skylane RG, and it's also turbo normalized, meaning it just holds. It doesn't boost to make power normally. It only uses the turbo when you get above about 6,500, 7,000 feet. And then your turbo kicks in to maintain sea level power. Well, let me take that back. If you want to make full power all the time, it's using the turbo. If you want to make 100% power, as soon as you get above sea level, you'll be in the turbo. If you want to make 75% power, you're using the turbo above about 6,500 feet. Believe it or not, it will run Lena Peak. I've ran at Lena Peak. I had it up at 17,500 feet. Went to Peak EGT. Was running rough. Went about 50 degrees Lena Peak, really rough. Introduced some carburetor heat, which up there is fine. You don't need filtered air. And got it to smooth out. Lost about 7 knots, down around 11 gallons an hour, 10 and a half. Went back to Rich a Peak. Got down to about 168 knots there. Went Rich a Peak and was 176 knots. On 14 and a half gallons an hour at 14,500 feet. So, quite interesting. They say carbureted engines won't run Lena Peak. There's ways to make them run. Carburetor heat helps. So, you can't, in the turbo up high, you need to have the throttle wide open. Another way in like the 0470s in the Skylanes, you can, to get them run Lena Peak, you can go full throttle and then back them off just a little so you're cocking that inlet, that butterfly a little, causes some turbulence, makes it run a little more, gets better distribution to cylinders. But in the turbo, you can't do that. Because you're into the boost, you're into the full, so you use carburetor heat. Seems to work. I probably won't want to run at Lena Peak much. I'll just run it according to the book and watch the cylinder head temperatures. It's the internal cylinder pressures that you're really worried about. At the low power setting that the Skylane RG Turbo is set at, I'm not too worried about hurting the engine, especially the cylinders and the Lycoming. So we're coming up on a Kubji here, minute 34 according to the Garmin 430. Gauges are all green. Autopilot's doing a good job right at 3,000. This time I'm not going to make the mistake. I'm going to engage approach right now. Maybe. Oh wait, it won't let me do it till I'm inbound. I have to wait till I'm inbound. So we're currently on nav altitude hold. I'll back off the throttle just a bit. We're going to turn in 4 seconds. Our next track is going to be 005, so I'll dial that to 005. Again, I don't need to. I just like it for reference. Do the same with the DG. Autopilot's doing a nice standard rate turn. Could help it with a little rudder here to center the ball. And again, it's adjusted the trim for cruise. Now that we're established, let's see if it'll let me go to approach. There it did. Approach, arm. So it should automatically engage the glide when the glide slope comes alive. It should automatically engage it. We do have the CDI set for GPS. I'm just playing with this a minute. I want to see the difference between the two. I have it on nav right now. I flipped it back to nav. I'm going to see how it reacts when I go jig inbound. Then I'm going to hit approach and see what that does. It is centering the needle right now. So we're 120 knots at 20 inches of manifold pressure, 2,400 RPM. That's another thing. That's how they limit the power in these 540s. They just limit the power or the RPM down to 2,400 RPM. Your 300 horse engine would turn 2,700 RPM. So these engines go a long time because A, Lycoming builds better cylinders than Continental, and B, it's derated. 540 cubic inch and 235 horsepower is nothing. Asking very little out of the engine. So we're making our inbound turn. Yeah, I'll give it a little left rudder to help with the turn. I'm being lazy. In the wind, our inbound heading is going to be 275. Our desired track, I guess you could call it. And our wind is going to be coming from 330. It's coming from this way in, so I'm going to need some right aileron and left rudder on the touchdown. So 3,000 foot. I've already briefed the approach. The weather is 400 and a half-mile visibility, moderate rain, wind 320 at 10, gusting 15. Everything's good, no warning lights, gauges in the green. This time I'm going to make sure before I go around everything is forward, and I'll have my flaps up too once I get positive rate. So 3,000. That's interesting. I actually have a failure of some sort. I don't have vertical representation. I got a flag on my vertical. That's interesting. Let's just do something real quick here. That is interesting. Now I got it. There was an error there for some reason. I'm going to disengage the autopilot. Not sure why I had that error, but I'll go ahead and file. I have it now, so I'll hand fly it. So we're going through 2800.
Altitude.
We'll dial in our decision height of 1300. And I'm going to go ahead and get the gear down. A little behind it now because I was playing with the... trying to figure out why the CDI was flying. Gotta get back on course here. We'll get it. Just got the gear down. We have 3 green. Get our needle centered back up. We're a dot high. I'll get that fixed. Dot and a half high. And we're a half dot. We need to go right a half dot.
Altitude.
1,000 foot from our decision height. There we are. Now I can get a notch of flaps in. I got initial flap speed. The rain just started on the windshield. There we are. Back on the glide slope. Need a little more right correction. That wind's blowing me to the left a little. And we have 3 green. I'm going to go ahead and go full rich to anticipate a go around. All the problems I've had, I might as well. Okay, we got it nailed. We got the ILS, we got the glide slope nailed along with the lateral. Gonna reduce a little more power, bleed off some speed. Need to go a little more to the right. I'm drifting again because of the wind, so I'll correct that. Got the glide slope nailed. A little more to the right again. There's 80 knots. I'm going to go second notch of flaps. There's decision height. And there's the runway.
Leaving altitude.
So I came in a little too high. I'll still make this. That was sloppy. Get off the runway here. Flaps up. Switches off. Engine off. Avionics master mags. Okay, so what I do wrong there. I thought the autopilot was a problem, but I should have noticed I had a flag on the glide slope coming from my initial fix to my middle fix. I should have been getting a glide slope indication high. Instead, I had a flag. I don't know why. However, when I reset it, it came alive. So a glitch obviously in the software that time. The right thing to do if you were really flying would say, hey, something isn't right here. Either have an indication failure, maybe the WAS is out, something. I could have went to an ILS. I could have called Fort Wayne Approach and said, hey, something isn't right here. I have no vertical. I'm going to take me somewhere else. Give me a vector somewhere else. Iron this out. Put in a new approach. Shoot the ILS into 2.7 instead. We're on a simulator. I fumbled with it. Got it working. Came down. But it had my mind messed up. As I'm shooting this approach, I'm still thinking, why wasn't that working? Why wasn't that working? So I got off course a little bit. But this is only the second approach I've ever done in the simulator, so still getting used to it, getting used to the graphics. I'll do a VFR one here in a little bit, and maybe that'll be a little neater to watch. So thanks for watching that, and we'll give you another one here in a moment.